Hi, welcome to Strength Reversed. It's Amy. Thank you so much for being here. I have a VR to my own hashtag, or maybe it's just an update. We'll call it an update to my hashtag, which was Convince Me Oracle Tag, because I accidentally on purpose bought this Oracle deck because I thought the artwork was just absolutely stunning and couldn't stop looking at it. And so I bought it. And then I thought, well, how am I going to use this deck? Because I don't want to acquire decks that I'm not putting into practice. And I've never been an Oracle person. And so I made a hashtag asking people why they use Oracle, how they use Oracle, their favorite decks, what's different about Oracle than Tarot. And a lot of people mentioned not liking that Tarot felt a little bit confining sometimes, but I really like that about Tarot. I like some outer edges. One thing I have not liked about Oracle decks is that they feel a bit random, or they feel like there's no cohesiveness, and there's no system to it, and I really like a system. But I do have some ideas that I've learned for incorporating Oracle into my practice. Am I convinced? I think I'm convinced to not count out Oracle just yet. And also, I'm convinced that maybe I'm picking the wrong Oracle decks because some of them that you guys showed were amazing. Now, I have several DV decks that came to me by accident, like I didn't go purchase them. They just kind of landed in my life. And I do not like those decks because she has about 50 of them and they all kind of look the same. And I think they all feel really thrown together. And it just, I guess it just left a bad taste in my mouth. But I do have some other decks that have been gifted to me mostly that I really want to start working with. So I have some really good ideas. And it's funny because someone, after I made the tag, I checked my email and someone had told me that they wanted to send me an Oracle deck for me to have on my channel. And I thought, oh, okay, perfect. So the universe is sending Oracle my way. We'll see. Lennox Reese on her video mentioned something about making Oracle your own, and I thought it was a good reminder that, I don't have to do it anyone else's way. I can do what I want. If I want to use this Oracle this way, or if I want to, use half the cards, or if I want to, whatever, then I can do that. It kind of stresses me out, though, to think about having a deck where there are a few cards I don't like that I take out of the deck and then they're sitting somewhere. I would think about those cards that are sitting somewhere every time I use the deck, and it would feel incomplete and it would eat at me. Kind of like nag and stress me out a little bit. Is that weird? Is that weird that it would stress me out to do that? It's like having a set that is incomplete. I can't do that. I can't do that. So if I got an Oracle deck, I'm not interested in having another obsession. So I'm not interested in acquiring a bunch of Oracle decks now. I think I would be really picky about the Oracle decks that I acquire. This one I got on sale, was like half off, and I thought it would be fun and cheeky and cute. And there are like 3 or 4 cards that enrage me. And I just tossed the whole deck to the side because every time I look at this deck, I think of those 3 or 4 cards that enrage me, and I can't unsee it. And so as far as an Oracle goes, if it's not usable as is, I don't think I would do a whole lot of altering to make it work for me. I would just find a deck that works better because I'm just a tarot person through and through, and so Oracle is just a fun extra at this point. One of the ways I think I'm going to start using Oracle cards and incorporating it into tarot readings And this is something that Laura from Aquamarine 18 mentioned, was pulling an oracle card as a wrap-up card. I call this the homework card, and this is something I do for sure when I'm reading for someone else. It's that last card. The reading is, over for the most part. And I will usually say, let's pick one card to wrap this up. And this is your homework, or what message your guides and angels have for you. Like if they could tell you one thing to do or one mantra to have as you're thinking about this, what would it be? And it's a way to, I think it's a little more empowering to send people on their way with something they can actually do and or think about or journal about or meditate on or whatever. And so that's also my signal to like, let's wrap this up and the reading's over. And then it avoids any of that awkward, like, are we done? So it's very clear, we're done. And here's a fun, fabulous bonus card. So that, I think Oracle really lends itself to that naturally. And people mentioned journaling, which, I love a good journaling. And pulling a card. These are the Crazy Sexy Love Notes, which I love. I've had this deck for years, and even though I don't use it very much, I love the artwork. It's so bright and pretty. And this is the kind that has, I don't mind this in lieu of a guidebook. It makes it handy. What was I saying? Oh, yes, journaling and card study. So I think picking a oracle card, maybe a card a day, or asking a specific question for yourself, or just picking a card and seeing what it has to offer and writing it in a journal is a fantastic way, something to meditate on. I think when you journal, sort of a free journaling experience, a lot of things can come up that you weren't expecting, really useful things. And connections or ideas or truths or messages from your higher self just naturally can come up. And so I think that is a good way to use oracle cards. Because tarot cards, I can see how, like, if I pulled this just for, it's not super uplifting and it has a lot of, meaning that I've already memorized. And I can see how, yes, that is very structured, which I love about the tarot. But something like this might be more, for me, there's already lots of triggers looking at this. Which are worth exploring. Another useful way to use it to study is to just pick a card and then find what tarot cards would go with slow down. Maybe the Hanged Man, maybe something else, maybe the Chariot reversed. What would go with this? Something about creativity, probably the Empress, or the Three of Pentacles, or, some cups and shit. As far as creating my own spreads with tarot, I don't know if I would really find most oracle cards useful for that. I will show you let me go this way, a spread that I've done this week, and I've done a few of these now, where I've used the Cup of Contemplation cards and pulled questions. And I think these cards in particular lend themselves to creating a spread. And it's been really very enlightening and useful. I've gotten some good readings out of this. And then at the end, I pulled one of the Celestial Oracle cards, and I think it's really cool how it had a ship. And it kind of matched and made sense and went with it. It's funny how they do that. So I like those cards, but I think if I pulled just a card like this, where it had a keyword, and tried to make a tried to make a spread out of it, I don't know if that would be something useful, because all it would do would be to add a keyword, and I hate keywords on tarot decks. I really hate keywords. And so I don't think adding a keyword would do it for me. I can see pulling some cards and then using an oracle as a clarifier. And Tammy Pie called it a conjunction, and I really like that idea. So, you know, if we pulled 2 cards at random, the King of Wands and the Nine of Cups, filling in the space between these cards where we have, you know, this fire and this water energy maybe competing with each other, and someone who maybe wants to get to this point where they're relaxed, where they're not worried about details, where they're totally doing what makes them feel good and putting all the shit behind the curtain, not focusing on the negative, then I think this person is really focused on form over function. Kind of like me. Sorry, you know how you do a tarot reading and it's like, oh, is this message for me? Yeah, so, you know, not worrying so much. I think this person worries about the outcome and getting it done, and they have a vision of how they want it to be, and it's a lot of energy, and luckily this guy's pretty focused, but something to connect those 2 cards, I don't know. Let's pick a Bob Ross oracle. The Happiness Guru. Going with all this energy, you know, is it really why? Like, why are you doing it? Remembering your why. Which is something they tell teachers all the time, to remember their why. Fuck you. You remember your why. So, yeah, I love the conjunction card, though. This person really isn't even focused on... It's like they're going through the motions so much that it's like, well, do I even really want to do this? Do I even really want to check off all of these boxes? Where do I want to put my energy? And this to me is kind of, I'm just getting burnout. I know the Kings like have their shit together, but I'm just getting burnout. Like, you're doing too much. Someone gave me some advice once that was phenomenal, which was, you give 100%, but the last 10% is just for you and no one else notices or cares. So find what's in that 10% and quit doing that. Okay. Love that. I can see, instead of you, I like the Cup of Contemplation. If it's a question, I can see building a spread with that, but I don't want to add a keyword to my cards. I can see adding a card to either connect cards or just refine the meaning. If we know that a tarot card has 360 degrees of meaning, that's where the art of tarot comes in. You know, which one of these flavors pertains to this reading. And if you can pick a card that helps you narrow that down, you know, normally we would use intuition to do that, but sometimes that's really difficult. And you can pick a card to narrow down the meaning. I was rambling there for a bit, so I decided to cut myself off. And I'm just going to wrap up this reading and pull one oracle card about oracle cards. What do we need to know? Elevate your energy. Fantastic. I think this goes back to the make it your own, where, and to this reading, if it's not feeling good, I think then it's a no for me. So if I'm starting to stress about how am I going to use this? How is it going to be incorporated? This doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not going to force it. And I'm just going to have fun and enjoy the oracles and see what they tell me. Thanks for all of your information and inspiration. And if I haven't seen your VR, just give me a nudge because, like I said, I get bogged down in work emails and stuff. And so I usually forget to check notifications, and then I'll go, oh yeah, that YouTube channel. So thanks everybody. And I'm looking forward to the next video. Bye.